What's happening, people? Sorry it's been a while since I've done a video, and today I'm kind of coming to you from the garage. It's like 100 degrees outside. You can probably, I don't know if you can see the sun blazing out there, but it's warm. So today I'm coming to you to talk about all of this and what I'm doing and how maybe you can get your hands on some of these goodies that I'm going to be talking about. So stay tuned. Alright, so what is it we got here? Well, you know, a lot of you guys and gals, if you've been following me on Instagram, you've been seeing me post a lot of pictures of some baits I've been painting. So I bought an airbrush. It's a cheap airbrush. I got to get a better one. But I just to learn, you know, and started painting and kind of doing some custom colors that really work well for out here in California and might work well for you in your home area. But I just started doing this. Now, right now, I'm not selling anything. I'm doing this for free, just kind of making them, giving them out to some buddies to test on them. One of my buddies caught one of the first fish yesterday on one of the baits, so that's awesome. I'm going to be getting out soon to try to test some out myself, so that video will be coming soon. And if you do stay tuned, there will be some fish at the end of this video from a recent trip out. But at the end, you know, we're just trying some stuff out, so I want to get some feedback from you folks. Tell me what colors you might want to see, some things that, you know, maybe work in your home lake or your home area. And maybe I'll paint one up and send it to you to give a try. Right now I do have a few, and I don't know how well these are going to show up on here, that I've painted so far. These have got some clear coat drying on them. You know, there's a black crawl pattern here. This is one that was custom done for a buddy of mine. That is a crawl pattern next to it. Back here you've got a kind of a ghost gill pattern. This is a kind of a classic, you know, red, you know, delta crawl pattern, and this one's one of my newer ones that's a kind of the same thing as this one, just a little bit darker, and it's got a little bit of a darker red on the belly, and then back there you got a shad pattern, and some others back there, a blue crawl, and you know, that pink, that purple one. So anyway, I'm going to show you kind of my process today really quick in a short little video. I'm going to paint up a bait for you guys. I've been acquiring stuff, and you can see it's friggin' messy. But in the end, this is kind of the process. So anyway, I wanted to share it with you. Let me know what you think, and if you got some colors or any feedback whatsoever on what we're doing here and what we're trying to do, let me know. Hit me up in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you guys soon. All right. So real quick, I want to talk about some colors and some other things that I've bought and I'm using. So first of all, you can see I got a whole box of colors and some different materials, the cleaners, the reducers, and all that good stuff. You know, you see a lot of bright colors in here. Those are good for some background images. I'm learning, you know, like for gill underlyings and stuff. You know, your reds, you know, some browns, and this is backwards to the way I normally use it. The oranges, you know, the more natural stuff that you do see, the yellows and the greens and the whites. But what I've learned is that, you know, if you're going to do a solid bait pattern, you got to put a good solid color underneath it, like this solid white, an opaque white. And then you can top it off with the orange or the green or anything else, and it really works out pretty well. Now, if you're going to go with something that's a little more of a ghost type pattern, then you're going to want to go with something like this. This is like a transparent, they call it a leaf green. That's really good to get that light pattern for that green that you really want. There's a lot of transparent colors I've been using because they really work well. Now, if you're going to use them as a solid or more solid color, you really got to lay them on thick. Now, some other stuff I've been using, I know a lot of people buy stencils and stuff like that. I've actually been cutting and making my own out of actually paper plates. They hold up well, they're more durable, they got a little bit of a wax coating on them, so that's really good. Paper towels and rags, these are like little, they call them helping hands or something like that. I got this at like Hobby Lobby. Some hair material, combs and stuff to get some of the striations and baits. I bought some little mesh material that's really good for a gill pattern. I bought this and I have not used it yet. It's like a snake pattern thing. And then a critical thing is eyes. So you got to have some decent eyes. I've got some by Fish Skull and some 6th Sense eyes in here, and they're really nice. And then the baits I've been buying have been coming with eyes themselves. You know, I got my airbrush over here with, you know, a cleaning pot, a little bowl of water to help rinse the stuff out. Alligator clips, that's critical. Little cups to be able to mix the colors in. Because I don't have a lot of colors like other people, I really have to mix up a lot of my own. So anyway, that's kind of the setup. So let's get into painting. So the bait I'm going to do today is kind of like that Delta crawl pattern. So the first thing I got to do is give it a nice solid coat of that opaque white to give it that, at least for the top portions of the bait, the tops and about 3/4 down. I want to give it a more solid color, and then on the bottom I'll use that transparent paint to kind of give it a little bit of a, you know, transparent appearance. So with all these baits, if you ever decide to do this, first of all, you should definitely buy a more expensive airbrush than what I bought, because the one I bought was pretty cheap. I'm actually going to be getting, and I was going to get one yesterday, but we went out of town and didn't get back in time. But I was going to get one of the Iwata airbrushes, the Iwata Eclipse, because that's just one that really works good. It just seems to be a preferred airbrush by a lot of people, because like with this airbrush that I'm using, as you can see, I'm mixing the paint, put it in this little bowl, these little cups, and then I'm having to actually put that reducer in there to get it to spray through. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube that don't have to do this because they're using a better, you know, a better airbrush. So anyway, I just mix it up, it thins it out a little bit, not a lot, just to make it flow through the airbrush better, and then we'll get started. You should always test to make sure it's going to fire and it's going to be not too wet and it's not spitting at all. So again, I'm just going to go over this really, see it spit. That's one of the problems with this airbrush here. So there that is. I'm going to rinse out the gun, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take, and I have a heat gun, I'm just going to really quickly run the heat gun over the bait to heat set that paint, so it's really quickly ready for that next coat. Just that quick. Okay, so we got that base coat down. Now I'm going to use this Wicked Orange color. I'm going to shake it up really well. And this is like a transparent color. And then I'm going to use a little bit of this transparent red. Mostly it's going to be the orange with a little bit of red to give it that kind of reddish orange color. That seems to be what works really the best out here. So got a little bit of orange in there, and it just doesn't take a lot of the red, a couple of drops just to get it right where it needs to be. Now I'm going to take my stick here. You think I've painted this color before? Look at the stick. It's going to be the same color here when I get done. So I'm going to mix it up, get that nice red-orange color. Man, that's great. Now I gotta, again, this paint is kind of thick. So far, I haven't bought a lot of different paint styles. I've been using a lot of the Createx paints because they seem to be, you know, kind of pretty widely used for people painting baits. And they, you know, a lot of people that I've seen doing this really recommend them, and they seem to work really well. So far, I haven't had any problems with them, but some of them are thicker. The Wicked ones seem to go through the airbrush a little bit better, but a lot of them are just, they're pretty thick paints, so they tend to clog up a little bit when they're in the airbrush, especially when you're using a cheap airbrush like I am. I'm just kind of so stoked to get that better one, and it's kind of waiting for actually time to go get it. So here we go. We're going to fill up the little hopper again here. I'm going to turn the pressure down, which the one cool thing I'll say about this one is it does have a little pressure regulator on the bottom, which a lot of the other ones don't. But I can see the colors coming out. You probably can't see that from there. You'll start to see it when I start hitting the bait here. All right, well there it is. So now I'm going to put that heat gun on it, and then I'm going to do it again. All right, so you can see now this is the bait after the second coat of paint. You can see how much more vibrant it is compared to the way it was. I know it probably doesn't show up great in this light in here, but it is, trust me, it's popping at this point. So now we're going to go on and I'm going to do a little bit of color on the underside. We'll heat set that, and then we're going to go with the stencil on the side to create that kind of crawl pattern. Okay, so I found this paint, Blood Red. It's a candy auto air color. I think it's made by Createx also. But for the bottom of these baits, for that red, let me just tell you, that color is perfect. And I'm just going to put it like right in here, you know, with a little bit of overspray going up, but right in here on the general belly of the bait. And man, it just transforms the bait. It really, I don't even know how to describe it. And it does not take a lot of this paint. It's really thin. I don't have to reduce it, which is super cool because I kind of hate doing that. I think I just put like 5 drops of that color in there. So all I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to test that it's spraying good. There it goes. And it kind of goes on really thin, so you have to just kind of layer it and then heat set and then layer it to get it to right where you want it. So I'm going to tilt the bait way down so I get this spray in just this area, and then it'll, hopefully it looks good. One thing I'll say about this color, don't get it on your hands because it will not wash off for a couple of days. It is pretty potent. All right, so we got those first 2 colors down, the 3 colors, the base, the orange, and now that red underbelly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lay on a scale pattern. So I've made a couple of crawl bodies. So one of them is a more straight lined approach where I can kind of go and step it up and back. And another one is kind of more of a rounded body where I can kind of cut it through and then up like that. Either way, I think they're good patterns. So if you see on my stencil here, there's a lot of paint on the outside, and that's because I'm not really painting the bait. I'm painting on the stencil and around it, and it allows that color to drift up, and it gets on there and creates that smoky look and, you know, that shadow effect, and that's what I want. So I'm going to kind of go this way with the first one kind of right through the bottom of the gill plate here, if you can see that. And then I'm going to kind of step it up and back until I get a last little run like that at the end. All right, so don't make fun of me too much for the way I have to get all janky when I'm doing this, but usually it turns out fairly well. My hands just don't exactly sometimes work in unison when I'm trying to do all these different things here, so anywho. And there you have it. Now we'll do the other side real quick. All right, you can see here, got that side done, got that side done, and they line up across the top as far as being kind of parallel and perpendicular to each other, so that's pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same black that I was just using, and I'm going to do a little blacking around the eyes and over the back. Just a little light kind of fogging, if you will, just to give it a little darker profile along the back and around those eyes, and then she'll basically be done, minus putting the eyes on, gluing them in place, and getting the clear coat on. And I'm pretty happy. I think that's a pretty cool looking bait. We're going to put the eyes on it, we're going to clear coat it, and then I will show you the finished product once we get some clear coat on it. Okay, so here's the bait. It's done. I have not clear coated. I wanted to mention one thing to you. I'm using these 6mm red eyes, and they're self-adhesive, but I'm using a little bit of this Gorilla glue just to put a little drop of glue right in those eye sockets, and then putting the eye on there. I think it gives that extra adhesion. You know, nothing worse than running your crankbait for half the day and getting it back and missing an eye, right? We've all had that happen. It sucks. I'm not wanting that to happen with these baits, so I'm being a little... I got those eyes glued on now. You can see it does change the bait quite a bit. Now, with some of these craws, I've been painting the eyes just to give that bubble effect. I'm going to mix it up until I figure out which way works best, and then we'll make a determination on the finished product, whether or not I'm going to be painting over them or not. Time for the clear coat. All right, so this is it. All done, finished. It's cured, or it's curing, I should say, for the clear coat. You can see, turned out nice and shiny. That clear coat really makes those colors pop. Can you imagine that thing coming through the water? You know, if you have a bite that kind of revolves or involves any kind of red colors, you can see how that red on the bottom really comes out. Those oranges, it's a killer color. It works really well. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this camera around. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give away this bait, the one that you just saw, in I don't know how long, maybe a week, maybe two, to some lucky viewer like you. So leave a comment. That way I know you watched the video. You know, give it a thumbs up, do all that normal stuff that we do, and I'll throw some hooks and some rings on that sucker and get it out in the mail to somebody. So hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was kind of long going through this process, but you know, this is actually kind of fun. You know, my boat's still got some issues. It's time for a new boat is what it's time for. So you know, once I get, you know, off the water, I'm kind of been bummed out sitting around, you know, going out with some buddies and stuff, and I do have some fishing footage that's kind of archived away from some recent trips. But I figured, you know, I got to come up with something that's going to keep my brain fish occupied, if you will. So I started doing this, you know, and I hope to be able to do more. If I start getting, you know, more stuff and more supplies, then maybe I'll start selling them. Who knows? Let me know what you think about the color patterns. Let me know what you think, and just in general, and you know, maybe I'll start doing more of this. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate the support. Leave that like and thumbs up and all that good stuff. If you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate you doing that. And we'll see you next video.